All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with another 49er video. And thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County. Well, my good friend Kyle Posey at Niners Nation has a story out today about free agent wide receiver Laquon Treadwell visiting the 49ers. Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network was the first to report it, that Treadwell is visiting the 49ers on Thursday. He was drafted with the 23rd pick overall in the 2016 NFL draft. And, this is a guy just hasn't worked out. It's amazing. There were huge expectations for Laquon Treadwell, and it just hasn't worked out. He suffered a grade 2 ankle sprain and sustained a hamstring injury during his rookie year. He had a 4-year career with the Vikings. It just never got off the ground. 2018 was his best season. He had 302 receiving yards on 35 receptions. And he's had a number of fresh starts since then. He was with the Atlanta Falcons in 2020. He only appeared in 4 games. Then in 2021, he's in Jacksonville, and he's catching passes from Trevor Lawrence and playing pretty well. Caught 33 passes for 434 yards. And then they opted to go in a different direction. He went on to Seattle, got a fresh start there, and would only see the field in 6 games last season with the Seahawks. Former first rounder, and you look at the 49ers at receiver, and it makes you wonder what's going on here. They've got Debo, they've got Brandon Ayuk, they've got Juwan Jennings, Danny Gray, and Ray McLeod. That's 5 receivers right there. And it's a loaded receiver class again. When I say loaded, it's not loaded with top-tier guys, but it's loaded as far as depth. And Treadwell, I don't see Treadwell making this team. So and this I really think, if you say, is this something or is this nothing? I would say this is more of a nothing story that they're bringing in Laquon Treadwell. I mean, I think everybody, when you have a super high grade on a player in college and then he comes into the league and for whatever reason it doesn't work out, you're going to take a look before you cross him off your list. This guy played at Ole Miss, 6'2", 220 pounds, 33-inch arms, 9.5-inch hands, big guy. And he was one of the greatest recruits in Ole Miss history. He was a 5-star recruit. He was a consensus All-American. He was the number 1 receiver prospect in the country. He was the top freshman in the SEC going way back to 2013, catching 72 balls for 600-plus yards and 5 touchdowns. And then things started to go south for him his sophomore year. Suffered a broken fibula against Auburn his sophomore year, finished with 48 catches and 5 touchdowns. But he worked hard and got back. And he lost a bunch of weight and played the 2015 season opener and helped the Rebels get a win over Alabama in mid-September. He had a big day that day with 5 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. And, he got better. He was a Blitnikoff Award finalist. He was an All-American, first-team All-SEC by the end. And, a lot of people thought he was going to come into the NFL and he was going to be like the new DeAndre Hopkins, and he was just going to be some monster in the NFL. You look at this guy and you said, well, what does he do well? He's got good height. He's got good size. He's definitely a smart player. He was a competitive player in college with the ball in the air and just had a feel for the position. And yet when you look at him as a prospect now in the pros with a couple injuries, he just has never had that vertical speed to get deep. And, cornerbacks crowd him underneath, in man coverage, and it's just they take him away. And he's really kind of struggled to free himself up in the NFL against NFL caliber coverage, and unfortunately, this is what happens when you can't run in the NFL. Your body gets beaten up. When you're slow and you can't beat people down the field, you get beaten up underneath, and that's what's happened to Laquon Treadwell. He's gotten beaten up underneath. He hasn't been able to stay on the field for any appreciable amount of time. He doesn't really separate. Now, why did the Niners work him out? Because, as I said, he was a 5-star recruit. He was a former first-round pick, and they're looking at the position going, wait a second, has it just not worked out because of injury? But really what it is he doesn't have the speed to get deep, And so he's taken a lot of hits underneath, and his body has then started to fail him, and he winds up being not the most productive player. But everybody's got a high grade on him because they knew he was an awesome 5-star guy in high school and that he had this great career at Ole Miss. And so everybody wants to take a look. So as far as does it mean something? Does it mean nothing? Well, here's what it could mean. I think the 49ers at wide receiver really like the group they have. They've got Debo and Ayuk as the starters. They've got Juwan as that third receiver who's going to run all those sideline routes, got great hands, huge catch radius. They got the speedster who can take the top off in Danny Gray. They got the special teamer, jack of all trades in Ray McLeod. And they even have a nice, great hands, great ball skills, young receiver with, borderline speed and Tame Martin that they're trying to develop into a regular in the NFL. So I like the 6 receivers they have, and they don't necessarily need to go receiver. But when you look a little closer, Gray's unproven. Tame Martin's a question mark. Juwan Jennings has 1 more year on his deal, and then he might walk away. Debo is a guy that runs through people and not around people, and you wonder about his durability. And then there's been an awful lot of smoke about Brandon Ayuk getting a big contract. And if they don't want to give Brandon Ayuk a big contract, he could be, maybe their best trade bait going into this weekend's NFL draft. So does Treadwell mean they're going to trade Ayuk? I don't think so. Does Treadwell mean they're worried about Debo? I don't think so. Does Treadwell mean that, Juwan Jennings is going to be traded? I don't see that either. I just see the 49ers having a real high grade on Laquon and wanting to take one more look and just get an idea if they want to go in that direction, what he looks like. But I think Shanahan at his core likes wide receivers that gain significant separation in coverage, and I think Treadwell struggles to get away. So, if at this point, if you said, what is the Laquon Treadwell meeting with the 49ers actually mean? I don't think it means much. I don't think he's a big-time special team player. I don't think he's taking Ray's job. I don't think he's taking really anybody's job at this point. I just think that once upon a time, he was a guy with an incredible resume, and they want to take one last look. If they sign him at all, it will be a camp body depth piece. I don't look at Laquon Treadwell and say, you know what, he's the guy that's going to enable them to trade Brandon Ayuk. Nope, not on that level. And I don't think he can take Jennings' job. I don't think he's offering enough on special teams to take Ray's job. Danny Gray is the essential deep speed. Treadwell doesn't take that job. So if you say Laquon Treadwell's worked out with the Niners, Krueg, is it something? Krueg, is it nothing? It's much closer to nothing than it is to something. That would be my breakdown on Laquon Treadwell. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you catch the Krueg Show on YouTube for all of our Niner coverage going into the draft and, of course, right into training camp. And thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show on YouTube.